for the top 4 picks in the draft and $70,000 for the rest of the round 1 selections. In subsequent tweets, Alyssa tells us that the average starting salary for first-round NBA draft picks is $10 million a year by comparison. She says that this contrast is, quote, honestly devastating.
The storm of outrage that swept across the basketball and broader sports community recently wasn't just your typical heated debate. It felt more like a wildfire. Feminist WNBA players became the center of a fiery discussion after a sports analyst boldly claimed they are overpaid, presenting an argument that left few stones unturned. This assertion, complete with data and comparisons, ignited an instant backlash, not only from the athletes but also their supporters. But beneath the surface, this episode revealed a fascinating collision of sports economics, cultural shifts, and public perception. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. The Analyst, known for his direct and often controversial takes, broke down the WNBA's revenue streams and compared them to its payout structure. According to his analysis, the WNBA salaries represented a larger percentage of league revenue than what NBA players receive from their significantly heftier pie. While it's common knowledge that the WNBA generates less revenue than its male counterpart, his pointed delivery and the use of numbers like weapons seemed to strike a nerve. The claim wasn't presented in a vacuum, either. It was supported by financial models, historical trends, and industry norms that on the surface seemed hard to refute. Yet it wasn't the argument itself that stirred instant rage. It was what it represented. For many feminist players in the WNBA, the implication of being overpaid wasn't just a financial critique. It was an attack on their value. The league has long been seen as a symbol of progress, a beacon for women in sports fighting for equity. To some, this critique was akin to dousing a torch that's barely been lit. For others, it was fuel to keep pushing for more visibility, more sponsorships, and more engagement with fans. But for the Analyst, it was simply economics, a dispassionate look at the balance sheets. And yet, dispassion can feel like disdain when it meets someone else's passion. As expected, the response from WNBA players was swift and sharp. Social media erupted in a cacophony of personal statements, memes, and fiery retorts. One player called the analysis laughable, likening the argument to comparing apples to oranges, while deliberately ignoring the value of apples altogether. Others posted sarcastic comments, thanking the analyst for his unsolicited financial advice, delivered with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. The mix of humor and indignation gave their replies a certain spice that resonated widely, even as the underlying frustration simmered beneath the surface. What made the situation more combustible was how quickly the conversation spilled over into mainstream culture. Late-night hosts made jokes about it, sports pundits dissected it from every angle, and fans on both sides of the issue battled it out online. The argument wasn't just about numbers. It became a microcosm of larger societal debates around gender, fairness, and meritocracy. And like most debates of this nature, it didn't remain contained within the boundaries of rational discourse. It quickly became personal, messy, and at times, downright absurd. The WNBA itself, already navigating a tricky landscape, found itself in an uncomfortable spotlight. The league's commissioner released a carefully worded statement, emphasizing the progress the WNBA has made in growing its fan base and the importance of continued investment in women's sports. However, the damage was done. The narrative had already shifted from celebrating those milestones to scrutinizing the salaries of players, who are far from living the extravagant lifestyles of their male counterparts. It was a stark reminder of how quickly progress can feel undermined by a single, sharp critique. What made the analyst's claim particularly sticky was its timing. The WNBA has been experiencing a surge in visibility, driven by social media, increased sponsorships, and a few high-profile games that captured national attention. While the league is far from competing with the NBA in terms of revenue, it has been steadily carving out its space in the sports world. For the players, being labeled overpaid felt like a slap in the face at a time when they are finally starting to gain traction. The frustration wasn't just about the money, it was about the constant uphill battle for respect. Interestingly, the backlash wasn't limited to WNBA players. Fans of the league, many of whom view it as a cultural movement as much as a sports organization, came to its defense with gusto. They flooded social media with examples of the value the league brings, not just in terms of entertainment, but also as a platform for activism and community building. They highlighted the unique challenges female athletes face, from lower sponsorship opportunities to societal biases that undervalue their achievements. For these fans, The analyst's argument felt like an oversimplification of a complex issue. Yet, not everyone jumped to the WNBA's defense. Critics of the league used the moment to double down on their skepticism, arguing that the analyst had only confirmed what they'd believed all along. For this group, the outrage from players and fans was seen as an overreaction, a refusal to engage with hard truths. Some took it a step further, suggesting that the WNBA's reliance on subsidies from the NBA is proof that the league isn't sustainable. While these arguments aren't new, they gained fresh momentum in the wake of the controversy. Amid the noise, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a debate about salaries. It was a debate about value, how it's defined, who gets to decide it, and why it matters. For WNBA players, their value isn't just tied to ticket sales or TV ratings. It's tied to the message they send to young girls who dream of playing professional sports. It's tied to the cultural impact of seeing women excel at the highest levels of competition. It's tied to the belief that progress, no matter how slow, it is still worth fighting for. The analyst, for his part, seemed unfazed by the backlash. In subsequent interviews, he doubled down on his argument, framing it as a necessary reality check for a league that he believes needs to focus more on profitability. His demeanor, calm, almost smug, only added fuel to the fire. Whether he intended to or not, he became a symbol of the barriers many women in sports feel they face: a lack of understanding, a dismissal of their efforts, and an insistence that they justify their existence in a way male athletes rarely have to. Humor found its way into the chaos, as it often does. One WNBA player posted a parody video of herself counting out all her riches in loose change, a playful jab at the idea of being overpaid. Another joked about starting a lemonade stand outside games to boost league revenue. These moments of levity didn't erase the frustration, but they added a layer of resilience to the response. If nothing else, they show that while WNBA players take their careers seriously, they aren't above laughing at the absurdity of being called overpaid in a league where some players have to supplement their income by playing overseas during the off-season. As the controversy raged on, it became a litmus test for how people perceive women's sports. Some saw the analyst's argument as a wake-up call for the WNBA to reevaluate its business model, while others saw it as an excuse to tear down a league that's already fighting an uphill battle. For the players, it was yet another reminder that their fight isn't just on the court. It's in the boardrooms, on social media, and in the court of public opinion. In many ways, the episode highlighted the double standards that still plague professional sports. Male athletes rarely have their salaries questioned, even in leagues where profitability isn't guaranteed. The assumption is that they are worth the investment, that their potential justifies the cost. For NBA players, that same assumption doesn't seem to apply. Instead, they are constantly asked to prove their worth, to justify their place in a system that wasn't designed for them in the first place. What the analyst didn't seem to account for, or perhaps chose to ignore, is the intangible value of the WNBA. It's not just about dollars and cents, it's about representation, inspiration, and breaking barriers. For the league's fans and players, those things are priceless. And while those intangibles may not show up on a balance sheet, they are every bit as real as the revenue numbers the analyst so meticulously dissected. By the time the outrage began to subside, it was clear that this wouldn't be the last time the WNBA's value is called into question. But if there's one thing the league has proven, it's that it thrives on resilience. Whether it's battling for better pay, fighting for more visibility, or pushing back against critics, the WNBA has always been about more than basketball. And while the analyst's critique may have struck a nerve, it also reinforced the very reasons the league exists: to challenge perceptions, to demand respect, and to keep playing the game, no matter what the critics say. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.